Hey guys, it's Arwad from Huntington Company, and on today's episode of TikTok, we are taking a look at 3 vintage and neo-vintage Rolex models that, in my opinion, are the safest bet when it comes to purchasing a Rolex in the market that we're in. So let's take a closer look and see what I picked for this week's video.
1, 2, 3, 4.
First, a specific reference for the Rolex Datejust, and that is going to be the 1601. I know this watch is not liked by many who are looking to get into Rolex because of the idea of a non-quickset and even sometimes a non-hacking movement. But if you are a true vintage enthusiast, then you love that pie pan dial and the characteristics of a 1601 as much as I do. And I have some stats here to show you guys. The Rolex Reference 1601 was produced from the 50s to the 70s, so almost a 20-year run. And looking at Chrono 24 and taking a look at some listings that have been posted in the past couple of days, I noticed that color dials make up less than 30% of the market for the 1601. What that means is that 70% of the watches out there for sale under this reference are either a champagne dial or a silver dial. So for every 10 watches, only 3 of them are going to be some sort of color, if that's a matte white, black, blue, or whatever it might be. And the key point to understand about watches like this and the other watches we're going to bring up is as time goes by, they're only going to get rarer, because that 30% of color dials on the market is probably so much less when you factor in the idea of redials, refinished, service dials, and even ones that are in terrible condition and are just not worth purchasing. When we're talking about these 3 watches, if you guys are looking to pull the trigger, I'm going to be looking at the best condition ones, and that's what I hope you do too. So if you're looking for a blue dial, don't just pick up any blue dial. Just because it's cheap enough, the dial might not be in the condition that people look for. You want something super clean. If it does have patina, it has to be gorgeous patina. Something that isn't too aggressive. Maybe a little bit of wear around the lume plots, or the blue turning into maybe a light purple, and same for the black turning into a light brown. But if you're looking at something that is past the idea of patina and it's getting to the point of damage, those watches are just not worth it. So with that 30%, we can even bring it down to probably 15 to 20% of Rolexes with the reference 1601 are great condition color dials. So then we're talking 1 to 2 out of every 10 Rolexes for sale right now, the Rolex Datejust 1601, are going to be color dials that are worth purchasing that have a great upside, because as time goes by, they're only going to become rare. So a color dial 1601 is a great option, and it is still affordable. You can find beautiful color dial 1601s for right under $5,000 and a bit more depending on the color variation. And honestly, it is fairly easy to find a beautiful color dial for the right price with this reference. And I don't think it's going to be this easy 5 to 10 years from now. So if you're looking for something to hold on to for the long term but don't want to spend too much money, a color dial 1601 is a great choice. Now let's go into the sport models. And the one that I picked is going to be the Zenith Daytona, the reference 16520. Both white and black dials are great options. At the moment, the reference 16520 is not much more expensive than the 6-digit 116520 with the in-house movement. Comparing that price difference to the previous generation of Daytonas before the Zenith, we're talking about 4 to 20 times more expensive for a 4-digit Daytona from the Paul Newman era compared to a Zenith Daytona. So you have a big jump and a really little jump between the 5 and 6 digit, even though the 5 digit has a whole different movement. So when looking at the Rolex Daytona, reference 16520, there is a lot of upside there. And also it's important to understand that specifically the reference 16520 was produced for only 12 years compared to the previous generation, the in-house movement with the Daytona. Also, another thing to keep in mind, looking at specifically the chrono listings, there is less than 50% Zenith Daytonas on the market compared to the 6-digit in-house movement reference. And that's only going to become smaller and smaller in quantity. There is 2 times as much 6-digit Daytonas than there are Zenith Daytonas. And that's specifically looking at the reference 16520 and the 116520. These ones are only going to get harder to find. And again, they are still not expensive compared to the newer generation. So if you're looking at a sport model, the Zenith Daytona reference 16520 is a great option. And as we said with the 1601 and the percent that are listed with color dials, there is 50% Zenith Daytonas compared to the next generation. But at the same time, out of that 50%, how many are not over polished? How many are not worn by the bezel and the bracelet and the dial is in good condition? If you're looking to pick up a sport model for around $20,000 to $25,000, I think your best bet is a Zenith reference 16520 Rolex Daytona. And that's a pretty good choice to have compared to the 1601. We talked about something that is affordable. The 1601 is still an affordable Rolex, to many an entry-level piece when it comes to collecting Rolex watches. And then we have the Rolex Daytona. Not the top echelon of Rolex, but it is fairly up there, and it is seen by many as a grail watch to own one day. So if you're able to pick up a Zenith Daytona or even a color dial 1601, they are both amazing options in their own right. After that, I want to bring up kind of an honorable mention and truly the safest bet when it comes to purchasing your first Rolex or your next Rolex, and that's going to be the Datejust Reference 16233. When clients reach out to me looking for a Rolex watch, if it's their first, second, or a gift, most often they want a sapphire crystal 36 Datejust, specifically the reference 16233. And here's why. It's still fairly affordable compared to the modern era of Datejust. It still has a good size for both men and women at 36 millimeters, and it is the most affordable Rolex Datejust with a sapphire crystal in 36 millimeters. So if you're looking for that entry-level Datejust but want something with modern touch, what's better than a sapphire crystal reference 16233 two-tone Rolex? So quick summary. If you're looking to get into Rolex or wanting to add something to your collection but don't want to spend too much money but also want to have a safe bet against the market, a color dial is always going to be a great option for the reference 1601 because they are one of the oldest Datejust and they are only becoming rarer and harder to find. And also something that I did not bring up is most of the paint that was used on these color dials did have defects. The dial does change color and the paint breaks down. So again, they're only going to become rarer and harder to find in good condition because these watches were fairly fragile when it comes to the chemicals and the paints that they were using. Then if we want to jump up to the next bracket and look at sport models, the Zenith Daytona is probably the most undervalued Rolex in today's market. It's not much more than the in-house movement, and at the same time, it's so much cheaper compared to the next generation, and then comparing that to the previous generation 4-digit Paul Newman Daytonas. We're talking about a 4 to 20 time jump, and both are great, the black and the white dial. It's all your personal opinion on what you like more. The white dial is going to be less common and more collectible and desirable by any enthusiast. So if that's what you're looking for, then pull the trigger on a white dial. But I love the black dial just as much. And then if you want a true safe bet, something that you can buy, wear, and enjoy, and know it'll be an easy sell or trade when it comes time to moving on from that piece, the reference 16233 Rolex Datejust Sapphire Crystal in 36 millimeters is going to be the first Sapphire Crystal Datejust, the most affordable Sapphire Crystal Datejust, and the best entry-level watch for anybody. That's what I get asked for often, is the reference 16233. So I know if you pull the trigger on one for the right price in the right condition, you will not have a problem with holding the value from when you first bought it. So thank you guys so much for checking out this week's video. I hope you guys enjoy the content, learn something new as always. Again, if you are looking for any of these watches specifically, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help. This is what we do here at Huntington Company. And also remember, we are having our giveaway for the month of March, and we are giving away a brand new marathon. So if you haven't yet, take a look at our latest pinned Instagram post with this watch in the photo, and in the comments below is how you can enter into this giveaway. Thank you guys so much for checking out this week's video, and I will see you guys in the next one.